So here it is, a masterclass in self-destruction by Jared Matthews. They say betrayal is loud, but sometimes it sounds like your best friend's girlfriend laughing at your joke a little too hard, or texting you, "Hey, thinking of you" at 1:23 a.m. while she's supposedly unconscious next to him, dreaming about whatever the hell David dreams about, probably protein powder and cryptocurrency. Yeah, I know she's cheating. No, I haven't told him. Because when she looks at me like I matter. And honestly, that felt pretty fucking good for a guy whose greatest achievement this year was remembering to water his succulent twice. Before you judge me, save it. I already did that. Every night around 2 a.m. with a whiskey in one hand and my dignity slowly evaporating in the other like morning mist, except less poetic and more pathetic. His name's David. We've been best friends since 8th grade when we bonded over our mutual inability to talk to girls and our shared obsession with Dragon Ball Z. We've survived everything together: acne, college roommates who collected toenail clippings, and that unfortunate phase where we both thought frosted tips were a good look. We shared dreams of leaving our dead-end town where the most exciting thing that happens is when the Walmart gets a new self-checkout machine. Until he met her. Selena. The first time I met her, she hugged me a little too long and said my cologne reminded her of her ex. I should have known then. She was into dangerous men. And brother, the most dangerous thing I'd done recently was jaywalking across Main Street while texting. She slid into our friend group like butter on hot toast, except instead of making things better, she made everything complicated. Always smiling, always watching, always making mental notes like she was gathering intelligence for some kind of emotional CIA operation. David fell harder than a freshman at their first keg party. Bought her a promise ring in month 3 like we were still living in 2004 and flip phones were cutting-edge technology. I watched him transform from my cynical, sarcastic best friend into this lovesick puppy who started using words like babe unironically. But here's the thing that should have been my first red flag. She'd laugh at my jokes even when David barely managed a grunt. She'd compliment my thrift store button-downs while casually mentioning how David just doesn't try anymore. Which, fair point. The man had been wearing the same 3 hoodies in rotation since sophomore year. Then came the first real breadcrumb in what would become a trail leading straight to hell. She sent me a picture. Her at the gym, sports bra, leggings, that post-workout glow that magazines spend billions trying to replicate. Caption: bet David wouldn't even notice if I wore this home. Would you? I stared at that message for approximately 17 minutes. Didn't reply. But I didn't delete it either, which in hindsight was like keeping dynamite as a paperweight. Technically harmless until it isn't. I started noticing the pattern with the dedication of a conspiracy theorist connecting red yarn on a corkboard. She only texted me when David was at work, asleep, or otherwise occupied. She called me her safe space, which should have sounded alarm bells but instead made me feel special. Like I was the emotional equivalent of a Swiss bank account, trustworthy and exclusive. Me? I let her. Because let's be honest here. When was the last time someone called me their anything? My own mother still introduces me as my son who's figuring things out, and I'm 26 years old. Last Friday, David invited me over for what he optimistically called game night, but was really just an excuse to drink beer and avoid the growing tension in his relationship. Selena opened the door wearing a silk robe that probably cost more than my car insurance. "He's in the shower," she said, leaning against the doorframe like she was posing for an album cover. "You want a drink or something else?" I said drink because I'm not completely stupid, just mostly stupid. She poured the something else into the silence anyway, letting her fingers brush mine when she handed me the beer. The kind of casual contact that's definitely not casual. Here's where it gets really pathetic. While David and I were playing NBA 2K, and he was absolutely destroying me because apparently heartbreak makes you better at video games, she sent me another photo from the bathroom. Same robe, different angle. Caption: bet I'm more fun to play with than PlayStation. That night, I told myself I'd come clean. Tell David everything. Be the good friend I pretended to be. But when I opened my mouth to confess, he hit me with, "Man, you're the only one I trust with her. She talks to you more than me these days. I'm lucky to have a friend like you." My mouth said, "You're lucky, bro." My conscience screamed, "You're an idiot, Jared." My heart whispered, "But what if?" So I did something spectacularly reckless, the kind of decision that future therapists would circle in red ink. I invited her out for a casual hang. She said yes faster than I say no to vegetables. David thought we were going to Home Depot because I told him I needed help picking out curtain rods. Which was true. I did need curtains. What I didn't mention was that I needed them because I was about to ruin my life and wanted to do it in style. We didn't go to Home Depot. We went to her ex's tattoo shop, which should have been red flag number 47, but who's counting? She got his initials removed from her hip, a small, faded RK that she'd apparently been covering with concealer for months. What are you replacing it with? I asked, because I'm an idiot who asks questions he doesn't want answers to. She looked at me with those eyes that could probably convince me to rob banks or become a vegan. Just a letter, she said. J. J for Jared. J for Jesus Christ, what have I done? J for just kill me now. I started spiraling harder than a washing machine with an unbalanced load, checking her social media with the dedication of a private investigator, zooming in on reflections in her photos, looking for clues. That toxic spiral where your brain becomes a crime scene and your heart's just collateral damage. She started talking about leaving David, said she couldn't breathe around him anymore, which seemed dramatic considering he mainly just breathed normally and occasionally asked what was for dinner. You make me feel alive, Jared, she said during one of our increasingly frequent coffee dates that definitely weren't dates, but felt suspiciously date-like. I should have backed out, should have told her to pump the brakes, have an honest conversation with David, maybe try couples therapy or at least a strongly worded text message. Instead, I told her, if you're going to break his heart, don't do it halfway. Which, in retrospect, was like handing someone a loaded gun and suggesting they might want to use it. That night, I found a voicemail on my phone from David. 1 minute and 22 seconds of silence, then, at the very end, I think she's in love with you, man. But I don't think you're innocent either. He never sent it. But the universe had already delivered the message loud and clear. Instead of taking this as a sign to maybe, I don't know, stop being a terrible person, I went full narcissist, started dressing better, working out, using actual skincare products instead of just hoping for the best. Like I was preparing for a prize I shouldn't even want, training for the worst friend Olympics. I started answering her texts with actual wit instead of just thumbs up emojis. Started sending memes that only we understood. The kind of digital intimacy that feels like foreplay but with more inside jokes and fewer consequences. Or so I thought. Then came the weekend that would make Chernobyl look like a minor inconvenience. David invited me and Selena to his parents' lake house. 3 days, 1 guest room, and approximately 17 different ways this could go catastrophically wrong. First night, David passed out drunk after attempting to grill burgers and nearly setting the deck on fire. Selena came into my room wearing a t-shirt that barely qualified as clothing and a smile that definitely qualified as trouble. She kissed me. You're not just the backup plan, Jared, she whispered. You're the escape route. And for approximately 30 seconds, I believed her. Felt like the main character in my own life instead of the sidekick in everyone else's, until I found the second phone in her bag. Unlocked because apparently she trusted me about as much as I deserve to be trusted, which is to say, not at all. Screenshots of me, of David, of our texts, of photos I'd sent her, of conversations I thought were private, all organized in a folder labeled Insurance Policy with the caption, Proof, in case I need to burn both bridges and roast marshmallows over the flames. So now I wasn't just a secret. I was a weapon, and I had no idea who she was planning to use me against, but I was pretty sure it wasn't going to end with a group hug and lessons learned. I confronted her the next morning while David was out buying coffee, and probably wondering why his best friend and girlfriend were acting like they'd seen a ghost. What the hell is this? I demanded, waving her phone like evidence in a courtroom drama. She smiled, actually smiled, like I just complimented her haircut. Insurance, she said simply. You boys were never that different. You both want to be the hero of your own story. I'm just helping you write it. What do you want? I asked, though I was pretty sure I didn't want to know the answer. A reaction, she said, from both of you. It's been boring watching you both pretend to be good people when you're both just mediocre people with good intentions. So I gave her a reaction. I told David everything. Every text, every almost moment, every lie I'd let bloom like poison ivy in our friendship, every single detail of how I'd betrayed the one person who'd stuck by me through my awkward phase, my unemployed phase, and my brief but regrettable man bun phase. He listened without interrupting, which was somehow worse than if he'd just punched me and gotten it over with. When I finished my confession, he stared at me like I was a stranger wearing his best friend's face. "You know what hurts the most?" he said finally. "I expected this from her. She's been playing games since day one. But you? I thought you were different." Then he left. Didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't throw anything. Just packed his stuff and walked out of both our lives like he was leaving a bad movie halfway through. It's been 3 weeks since my masterclass in self-destruction. No texts, no calls, no, "Hey man, want to grab a beer and pretend this never happened?" Selena blocked me on everything, which was probably for the best since I'd been fighting the urge to send her a strongly worded message that definitely wouldn't have made anything better. David moved out of our shared apartment, leaving behind only a note that said, "Keep the security deposit," and a half-empty bottle of the cologne Selena said reminded her of her ex. I saw her yesterday at the gym, because apparently the universe has a twisted sense of humor. She was with some new guy, tall, handsome, probably named Chad or Tyler or something equally offensive. She was wearing the same sports bra from that first photo, the one that started this whole catastrophe. When she spotted me, she turned and winked. Actually winked, like we were sharing some inside joke instead of the smoking ruins of two friendships. In that moment, I realized the truth that should have been obvious from day one. I wasn't her escape route. I wasn't even her backup plan. I was just the next chapter in her diary of destruction, the latest casualty in whatever psychological warfare she was waging against the concept of functional relationships. And David? He wasn't the victim in this story. We both were. But here's the kicker. I was also the villain, the accomplice, the idiot who saw all the red flags and decided they looked pretty in the sunlight. They say when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes you don't want to believe the truth. Sometimes you want to believe you matter, even if it costs you the one person who actually proved you did. David was right. I expected better from myself too. Now I'm sitting in our old apartment, surrounded by the ghosts of inside jokes and shared memories, wondering if it's possible to miss someone you betrayed more than someone who betrayed you. The answer, in case you're wondering, is yes. It absolutely is. And that might be the cruelest joke of all.